Good evening and welcome to the planning board session of the town of Belgrade for July 6th at 6 p.m. Roll call, we have with us tonight Mr. Peter Sargent and Nick Sakaro and myself, Sarah Langet, and George Seal and Mr. Greg Alexander and Hans Ramusen. All right, so the people in the audience, would you guys please introduce yourself? This is for the minutes, and our secretary, she's going to be watching the video and taking notes of everybody that was here. So,
Tyler Evans.
all right,
Don Hammond.
Matt Massey, Hammond Lumber.
can you repeat that again, please?
Matt Massey.
Okay, thanks.
Bethany Hammond,
Bethany Hammond,
Sadie Hammond,
Sadie Hammond,
Todd Becker with Haley Ward.
thank you.
Mike Hammond.
Thank you. So we gonna proceed with new business, and in it, we just got through a new ordinance for the planning board in which the structure of the governance of the body will be somewhat different, and it requires the re-election of a chairperson and a vice chairperson. So with that, I will open nominations for chair.
I nominate Sarah Winget.
I asked the nomination. Any other nominations? Second. So we vote, or this will roll call. Peter,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I vote yes, so it's unanimous.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So
Our condolences.
so now we open nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Greg.
Unaccepted.
I nominate, I can either do Rich Baker or George Seal. Except for one, Rich isn't here, so George Seal.
I second that.
All right. So I will proceed then to call out for vote. Peter?
Need a second.
Oh, yeah.
I second.
Oh, you second. Oh, sorry.
So Peter,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
I vote yes, Sarah vote yes, George?
Reluctantly, yes.
And
Yes.
Greg?
Thank
Thank
you,
you. So, well, that went very, very smooth. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the trust that the group placed in both of us. Thanks so much. So then the next order of business will be the application from Tyler Evans. It is actually a pre-application inquiry rather than application. The location of this project is in Dyer State subdivision, and the purpose is commercial development review ordinance. Again, it is a pre-application inquiry. And the big question is if the lot 9 split triggers revision of subdivision. We're going to be looking at the subdivision ordinance article 11, revision to approved plans. And with that, I open the floor for discussion. I suspect that Tyler will have a presentation for us.
Yes.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good so far.
Has everyone had a chance to review the full scale?
I honestly have not myself.
Okay.
So it would
I
be
have
nice
other copies if anyone wants to see it.
that you walk us through it in a bigger detail. I glanced
For
through
sure.
it, but not in big detail.
Yeah. So I am proposing splitting lot 9 on map 7-47. And creating lot 9A as illustrated on the map. This plan was created with the town spec and following the same protocol that we pursued last year for 14A, the same development. So everything is there, ready for approval. Brief background on this property, Don Hammond here tonight actually approved this subdivision in 2004.
Mhm.
And then I purchased each individual lot from him. So they've been lots of records since then, been paying individual tax on each lot. I bought the road, the common lot, each individual lot in the development. So nothing has changed for 19 years. When that subdivision was approved in 2004, there was a note that lot 9, in addition to lot 1 and 14, could be further subdivided. And that's pretty unique. You don't see that often, as they usually just address the subdivision at hand. But in this case, they approved it in 2004, the board, that is, with the intent that these 3 lots could be further subdivided. There's some question now on what is the process to approve such lot split. So I'm here tonight to answer any questions and walk through that process to see what we need to do to get that approved. I'm not looking to create a third lot, subdivision is a third lot in any 5-year period. This has been 19 years. And my goal is to get this 1 lot split approved so I can record the plan and build a home for my in-laws on 9A. Full transparency, the remaining acreage right now is just under 6 acres. So I'm looking to sell 1 acre to them, build a home on it. The remaining 5 acres may be developed in the future. I'm sort of separating this piece by design for my in-laws, knowing that if there's construction next door, any future development would require a road. So I'd hate to sell it to someone else and have that change hands, before I develop it in 10, 15, 20 years and have to deal with that dynamic. So them being there, knowing, my full scope and what may or may not happen in the backyard, just makes that process that much smoother moving forward. But I do not have any imminent plans to do that. Otherwise I'd have that for you folks today. So to create 3, 4, 5 lots there, start paying the minimum lot tax. The clock would start on road construction. I'd have to come back and ask for an extension from you folks every 2 years. So knowing that I don't plan to do anything in the next 2, 4, 6 years, it's not sensible to go through the full scale subdivision process now to create what may or may not happen 20 years from now. But that's the intent, to split that off and leave that remaining acreage for potential development in the future. And when Hans and I first talked about this, I was moving forward just like we did last year. In April 21st of 2022, we did this exact process for lot 14A. That has since been sold. I built a spec home and sold that. That's the white farmhouse in the field. So when Hans and I first discussed that, he referenced that the new ordinance may have changed some of the dynamics. So I went back through, printed copies of the old ordinance, matched it with the new. It's literally a mirror image. None of the language has changed. I've met with my real estate attorneys, engineers, surveyors. Nobody can say explicitly what has to happen. Here's X, Y, and Z that needs to be met to do this. The only thing that's clear is the submittal of a revised final plan, which you folks have before you here. I've got a copy on 20-pound paper for the registry, but the only thing clear is the revised plan signed by the board, and once that's recorded, the lot is established. So the language is just ambiguous, unfortunately, and if I was creating a third lot, I think it'd be very clear, right? As soon as you create a third lot in a 5-year period, you trigger subdivision. If this was any other lot in town, how far back do you look? Most parcels were part of a subdivision at one point. If this was any other random parcel, say it was a piece I own off the West Road, if I was to split that, it wouldn't require board approval. Because again, it's just a split. If I was to transfer to an abutter, In this case, I actually own all of the land around it, so there's no notice to abutters. Going through the procedure for the prelim or final plan, all of that work's been done. All of that was done in 2004. It had all been approved. We're not changing any of that other than this one lot split.
Tyler, for my benefit, you mentioned, 3 lots that can be subdivided, divided again. That was lot 9A 14,
Yes,
and which was the other one?
lot 1, 9, and 14.
And that, all that is in this little strip here.
It is, yeah, so we carried that was on the original plan from 2004 that the board signed. We've carried that over and brought that note onto the new revised final plan as well. And that's,
Didn't we sign this plan, or it was a different,
you signed, I've got a copy of it over there, but no, you signed for lot 14A.
14?
Yeah, and that was a 12-acre piece in the front.
Tyler, going back to the 2004 approval, we have the findings of fact from that meeting. Obviously, I don't believe anybody was on the board back then, but that's here today, but that was for a 14 lot subdivision, but you said the re-subdivision of lot 9. It almost sounded like it may have been approved at that time.
It was noted on the plan that it could be done, so that the intent was leaving lot 1, 9, and 14 as large parcels to be further
Is
subdivided.
that a note on the plot plan that was approved by the planning board and registered with the registry of deeds?
Yes,
So does it say can or does it say may?
It says
Because
can. It says all
I mean,
lots.
any lot obviously could potentially, if it's large enough, be re-subdivided. It's a question of whether was it approved in 2004 or not. According to what we have, the findings of fact from the final approval, it's for only 14 lots,
correct.
And
not 15.
you have a list there that are the declaration of restrictions. And lots 1, 9, and 14 were exempt from those restrictions. Because they were planned to be subdivided in the future.
Which document should I be
This one
looking
right
at?
here. And it's
Declaration.
very bottom, second page.
So all other lots have the restriction of no further subdivision, which is typical in a subdivision. That's something that boards often want to see. It's approved to know that they won't, you're not approving 14 lot subdivision that's going to turn into 28 the next year.
And the question is basically where we ended up here because, like I said, this was on the West Road. He's carving up a piece of lot. Well, that's just one subdivision. But this is a lot within a subdivision.
Right. Well, since 1988, when I was the chair and the original subdivision ordinance was approved, this ordinance has always had a provision that you cannot re-subdivide a lot in a town approved subdivision under the ordinance without further planning board approval. Doesn't matter if it's 1 lot, 2 lots, 3 lots, or 10 lots. Whether you create a subdivision or not, it's irrelevant. And it's been that way since
That's why
1988.
Article 11 is coming into play here.
And that's what I'm here for today, to get approval for that one lot split.
Right. It's basically just an amendment of the original approval. I was just wanting to explore to make sure that it wasn't actually approved in 2004 and this is all irrelevant. But it doesn't look that way as best I can tell. I mean, the fact that it's exempt from these declaration of restrictions or deed covenants, that in itself doesn't, matter too much to us. It does to the people in the subdivision, but it doesn't matter that much to us. So you said the notes on that plot
It
plan?
is, yeah. Yeah, it was on the original and then we carried forward those notes onto this.
No, this is the copy of the original, is it?
That is, yeah, it was tough to read that. That was the first thing that I brought forth with Hans and then,
No chance that we have this,
yeah.
You want the original?
yeah, I wanna read this thing here.
Well, the original.
You have the so I have what was approved last year. And. I do not have the original.
Here's the. Or if you want to see the original.
So it looks to me like that's just was originally designed so that with a desire that most lots in the subdivision couldn't be re-subdivided no matter what the planning board said. And it's lot 9, that's one that could. And so I don't see that, I don't interpret that as having approved.
Yeah, nor do I.
Okay, I wanted to explore that because it may save time and trouble.
Sure, no, I wish it did, but there is no 15th lot or A or B. But there can be. This last note there. Our paycheck, he handwrite everything, which. Dying art.
So Tyler, what you need to know from us, essentially, if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, is what you need to submit to make this happen.
Correct, yeah, and are you folks prepared to sign an approved plan that meets the criteria of road damage, soil status, minimum lot size, it meets all the ordinances, and all the restrictions for that. Like I have that ready to go. I have a 20-pound copy for the registry, which is what we did for 14A. Because there were no submittals. If I was to submit a subdivision application, that would imply that I'm applying for a subdivision. And that's classified as 3 lots in any 5-year period. There's no, I've gone through the updated ordinance very thoroughly. I've looked at the subdivision application. There's nothing in there for a revision.
No.
There's a line that says, is this part of a previous subdivision? Has there been any activity in 5 years? But there is no application for a revision. And if I was to submit an application for a subdivision to the board, I would need to come with all the submittals and all the procedure that it entails, and that just doesn't apply here.
So Hans, has Tyler had an opportunity to see this section 11 from the current ordinance?
Yeah.
I mean, as you noted earlier, the ordinance changed since the last time you did this. And including the how revisions to already approved subdivision plans.
It did not change. That's the thing. So I have the old copy and the new.
Yeah.
That revision did not change. That page of revision subdivision is identical. I have a copy.
I did the same thing you did, and my view is that the new subdivision ordinance is more specific and clearer as to what should be submitted. It requires more to be submitted, but it is clear that what needs to be submitted only applies to the re-subdivision of that one lot, it isn't any broader than that. Like the planning board can't start revisiting what was approved previously. Hans has actually highlighted it for us, and it reads, if the revision involves the creation of additional lots or dwelling units, in the event it was like multifamily housing or something, the procedures for preliminary approval shall be followed. And so that takes you back to that process in the ordinance. Now, I went through that because my concern was that a lot of it wouldn't be relevant because we're just talking about the creation of 2 lots. And I think that's true. Much of it, if not most of it, it's irrelevant at this point in time, but I don't know personally for myself, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I don't know how else we can approach this other than to give Tyler guidance on which parts may be relevant from that preliminary approval. Because it's not everything that's in the application form. And remember, Tyler's exactly right. That application form has not been updated since the new ordinance was adopted by the voters. So we can, you know, kind of give him some guidance on what's necessary and what's irrelevant.
Just for the record, that this map, final subdivision plan from 2004, July 30th, 2004. The first note reads as follows: lots 2 through 13, exclusive of lot 9. So it takes lot 9 out of that, of this statement, are restricted from any further subdivision and are further restricted to own this on-site built homes only. So it's very transparent on that.
Right. But that allows for this lot to be
So,
re-subdivided.
you just split 14A. What did we require? I don't remember off the top of my head. What did we require you to do for that? Because
Okay.
consistency ought to be, you
And
know.
you said that you're gonna mirror it, right? The same, you're gonna do the same.
Same exact thing.
Same,
Exactly.
you did on 14.
Same exact thing, yeah, and I'm more than happy to share this as well, but these are the old and the new subdivision ordinance. Literally nothing changed, right? So this is what we pursued last April 21st, 2022. And what I prepared, with the CEO at that time was, exactly what's before you now. So a revised final plan, which is very clear in the submittal section of this. So section 1, procedure, ambiguous. Again, references a preliminary plan, but as George mentions, under the preliminary plan procedure and submittals, everything that would apply to this is on that plan. So that's what I submitted for the lot 14. It was a revised final plan that shows, you know, the lot lines, perk tests, any notes that carried over from the original, and a signature block, you know, to be signed and recorded. And that suffices. I mean, that was an outside deal. That lot has been sold, and title searches, and that was a clear warranty deed. You know, so anything that was to come back in a real estate transaction, you know, nothing was triggered there, that the process was potentially missed.
I kind of feel that same process, we just did it, needs to be followed again.
Well, particularly if the revised plot plan has all the information that would be required under the preliminary approval.
Exactly, and
We would need a letter or something specifying what you want, you're requesting, but something in writing so that, you know, there's something in the public record indicating what we're reacting to and what we're approving. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
Yeah, rinse and repeat, right?
I think that would meet the requirements of the current ordinance.
So from here, do we have to take a vote on that, or just,
This is just preliminary, right?
okay, so,
The application, we're basically telling him what he needs to do to accomplish his goal. And my concern was that maybe last time proper procedure wasn't followed, and I didn't want to follow it again, that's why I punted it to you.
Yeah,
You guys are making the call.
yeah,
Do you follow Article 11 or not?
well, Article 11 has changed somewhat because of the new ordinance. So we need to, I don't think any procedures were improperly followed or not properly followed last time. It's just that the ordinance has changed.
Well, again, this is my
And
first,
if the plot plan meets the requirements of what's relevant from of the current ordinance, the new ordinance that was approved last fall, then I think it's a matter of submitting it along with a written request for the change and then, have, once the plan board approves it, submitting that plan to the registry of deeds.
so basically he needs to prepare a letter requesting the exercise his right to further divide the lot 9.
Requesting.
And would that come to the board?
And I think stating what you've stated here, Tyler, that the plot plan meets the requirements of the relevant aspects of the preliminary approval.
Yeah.
That would be my take.
Or we have to sign that.
We would, once we approve it.
Could you sign the plan? I submit the letter tonight? Is that something?
You have
to
everything, you have everything.
I have everything ready to go.
Ready to
Yeah.
go, so just he's missing a letter.
We can be in your inbox in 30 minutes.
Go ahead.
I mean, in an application, what application do you want to fill out for this?
I personally don't think any application, I think a cover letter that says that his revised plot plan that shows the amendment and that it meets the requirements of the preliminary subdivision approval would be adequate. The application we could require a submission of the application, but it would be the same net result. And like I said earlier, a lot of it's gonna be NA.
What about the declaration of restrictions? Would the dwelling unit you plan on building for your in-laws meet all the requirements of these past ones? Or would that
Yes,
change?
yeah, those will all carry forward into the new deed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, just submit a cover letter, and we can move on to the next, thing on the agenda, come back to him, and give him time to draft a cover letter, and, I want to go from there. Based upon the conversation here.
He's got everything ready, he just needs a letter.
Yeah, so take time to draft it.
Yeah.
Draft it.
Well, I understand that can be done now. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll come back, we'll go move on the agenda and revisit it after.
excellent.
You go with that?
Yes,
All right.
thank you.
Right.
So we kind of tabling this item towards the end, and we're gonna move in with item B in the agenda. Applicant is Mike Hammond. The location is Hammond Lumber, map 4, lot 52. The purpose is the commercial development review ordinance for expansion and relocation of the planner mill, paving building and dry storage building. So we're gonna be reviewing the parameters for the new or additional business in the existing commercial property. And with that, I open the floor for presentation from Hammond Lumber.
Just as a reminder, purpose of today's meeting is only to determine whether the application is complete. We're not making any other decisions today.
On this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you'll need that checklist.
Design all that, or is that?
Yes, maybe those. Yeah.
It's always something.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Today we're here to submit an application to the 3 buildings to modernize our manufacturing down here in at our Belgrade facility. We have some assets to help better explain it. Our proposed planer mill, shaving shed, and a dry building shed. Just to get everyone oriented a little bit better, when you drive by Route 27, the old planer mill is older facility, older building, and the shavings building is right next to it. So what we're proposing is to move we purchased some new equipment from Patino Lumber in Henniker, New Hampshire. And we plan on moving out of this old facility and that old facility and moving quote unquote out back. This kind of shows the layout, new planer mill, new shavings building, new dry storage building. Here's the Heron Cove Road. That's just kind of a layout down back. I'll take that other one as well. Nope. So here is the Route 27, Augusta Road, old shavings building, old planer mill down front, and where we're proposing is existing out back where we're right now we just have rough pine storage right now, so it fits pretty good for us. And we're in the general development district down there, so seems to make sense. With us tonight, I have Don Becker. He's from Haley Ward, our civil engineer up from Bangor. So Don has worked with on our site plan. We got a site location plan probably 15 years ago. Haley Ward's been with us right from the start. So site location, phosphorus treatment, stormwater prevention, pollution prevention SWIP program. They administer that for us. So they've been with us right from the start. So I brought Don with us to answer any questions. We have Matt Massey. He's been integral with the new planer and equipment, so we can answer any questions when we get to that section. So I think that's about it for now, and I'll open any questions that anyone may have, and any questions here as well.
Thank you for doing these. This really helped get me oriented on the site versus the engineering drawing. Good compliment.
Yeah, Mike, I had a question, big question here, overall question is, how much is in the new area, how much is in the shoreline zoning area, and how much is it? That's like, must be over,
None of it,
pardon me,
none of it.
none of it?
Shoreland zone ends on Heron Cove Road. Up in
Okay.
the middle of the road.
Side of the Heron Cove. Okay, thank you.
Actually, that's a good question, because in the application, it says that this is in the shoreline zone, so,
Well,
That's because some of their property is.
but not this site.
not this area.
Okay, well, that probably should be clarified.
We have like 79 acres.
Yeah, right,
With
right.
different LLCs, and so like the parcel like on Depot Road, that last permit that we got for you in 2008, whatever it was, that was in a different.
Yeah, so that's just a matter of clarification.
Correct. Yeah,
Are you guys gonna repurpose those buildings or are you planning on tearing those down? The current, the shavings building.
we will not do anything until the new manufacturing facility is up and running to our satisfaction. That being said, we really don't have any plans at this time. We're expanding on the retail front. That's retail facing along the corridor. I like keeping our corridor looking nice, where it's the first impression that passerbys get of Hammond lumber. So that being said, I will improve it at some point. I just don't have any rigid plans for those buildings at this time, but to me, our retail store, retail parking lot are kind of expanding, so it makes sense for some type of retail oriented use out of those buildings in the future.
Yeah, I heard you mentioned a new planer mill, is a new planer. So it's new equipment. What is the difference between the old equipment and the new one?
Like a car, the old equipment is tired, the
Okay,
systems are tired. This will give us, hopefully advanced, production, easier on the crew, more technology involvement in the production, less physical touching and feeling, and a little more mechanized, enclosed building. It's an enclosed facility,
We have a lot of hydraulic systems, which are environmentally less friendly. We're moving up to electric systems, variable frequency drive. It's kind of all what future modernization does. So really just getting with the times.
nice, thank you.
same end result.
Yep.
Rough lumber in one end and finishing lumber on the other, and
You eco-friendly, we like that. Any other questions in the board?
Not at this time.
Need to go through the application.
So,
Be helpful to explain the process to make sure everybody's on the same page with in terms of expectations, so.
I'll give you the pleasure of doing that. You see, you had done plenty of this.
So as I mentioned before, this is sort of a two-part process, okay? And the first is for us to go through the application and make sure all the components, the basic components are there. Not to assess whether they're adequate and meet the standard performance standards of the ordinance per se, but just to make sure everything's there, so we have a complete application. And that's the sole goal of tonight. At a future meeting, it could be the next meeting, depending on what, if anything, is missing from the application. In between now and then, there'll be a couple things that the town has to do. One is Hans has to provide notice to all landowners within 500 feet.
It's already done.
Did that.
Shouldn't have been done until we had a complete application.
Oh, I got 10 more days.
I mean, I came in to speak with Hans this past week, and this is the first about two-part meeting, so.
That's not how the ordinance is supposed to work, because the public is supposed to be able to see the complete application that we're gonna make a decision about. That's not what we have. We may or may not have that tonight.
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate the intent of getting things moving, but And hopefully we'll be able to do this in 2 meetings, which is 1 meeting less than usual. But because
I received a call from a butter, Lois Kenny, today, so the notice will come out, so.
yeah, okay. Well, that's good. Because sometimes people attend, sometimes they don't, you know, you never know. And they may have questions, they may not, and we need to answer those. And then at that meeting is when we'll hopefully be able to make a decision on the adequacy of the application.
So once we deem it either complete or we can work with it. So then the next process is the public hearing. So can't we just resend the notices back out with the correct date on the public hearing
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
and take care of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Just so that anybody from the public that is interested and.
So we'll just resend them out
Yeah,
with a date with the public, which is when we'll be going through the application. And it'll also be a public hearing at the same time.
I mean, once we-
That makes us look really silly in the public eyes to send out 2 duplicate applications, in my opinion.
I'll write a different letter and it'll just be notice of public meeting.
yeah. It's not a public hearing, by the way. It's, we don't hold public hearings under this ordinance. Technically, it's a public meeting, but I mean, it's a legal
Right.
differentiation, but as far as, you know, it doesn't matter too much really to everybody here, but it's mostly just to see if there's any public interest, whether there's questions by the members of the public and if they have any concerns.
Is that standard for any commercial application?
Yeah, no, the 2-step process is standard across the board.
Member Steele, I wanted to inquire, you said you wanted clarification on the shoreline zone, and I'm hoping to leave the meeting if there's anything that you need done that I know what it is. But the answer to that question, it was just a yes or no question, and it asked if there's any portion of the property. Obviously, there is a portion of the property in the shoreline zone.
Yeah,
There's no place to put any explanation there, so I don't know where you would like me to have that.
well, and maybe that's not necessary now, at least in my own mind, now that I understand it. Normally, when we have projects that are partially in the shoreline zone, it'll be shown on a line will be shown on the site plan, showing what parts in the shoreline zone, what's not. The reason that there's nothing on your site plan is because none of it, where you're putting the planer and the other 2 buildings is within the shoreline zone, as I understand it. Is
Yes,
that
and
correct?
it's too far from our plan, which I felt if I put it in like a 1:200 scale, then you wouldn't be able to tell what we're actually doing. So I thought it would be okay just to know it's not.
Yeah, yeah, no, once we got that clarified, that's fine. Okay, I
You
don't want
need
to
additional
beat
clarification.
this into a pulp. It's just by looking at the documents, it was unclear.
Well, the reason I'm heading there is as you go through this, your job's gonna be to see if we have everything. And the application form was problematic in the sense that a lot of questions I have to answer in a certain way because it's the whole parcel. So I'm anticipating.
We have 79 acres
I may-
that are within common scheme. And back in the 80s, when we started adding properties, peripheral properties, we set those up as LLCs. And so we've just grown into 79 acres, so it's hard answering these questions.
And all that's relevant is what you're applying
Right.
for.
So all I'm saying at the beginning, so as you go through it, if you picture that there's something that you want additional to what you have, I just want to understand what it is.
Right. Yeah, and that's part of the purpose of tonight.
Correct.
We certainly will do that for you.
Hmm?
We certainly will do that for you.
Yeah, no, that's our job.
Okay. And then also in terms of the recommunication with the community, it's on the town side. It's just gonna make you guys look better. All right. So I want to make sure that you're comfortable with the whole process. And So we'll take care of that and we send a new letter, in
Well,
in different,
how many butters got notification and within what,
It's within 500 feet, and I believe there's 6 letters.
6 letters, okay, so there's
And
not,
Louise is the only one that responded.
okay,
Currently concerned with what's out of the tracks, the development.
okay, so there's only 6 letters, so it's okay, okay, no problem. Yeah, thank you.
you're very welcome. All right, so we're gonna start with a, application going through every single item into it. So, take this with me. You can tell this is my first, commercial development application, so.
Sure.
Yep.
From the application.
Stand pointing to it. Because this is the original one, we're gonna put it on.
It should be at the end.
Okay, thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much. All right. So, we're gonna start with the applicant name, will be Hammond Lumber. And this process is a little bit of tedious. But it's because for public, we have to air it all out.
Yeah.
The development name will be expansion and relocation of Planter Mill.
Well, Planter Mill is only one of the 3 buildings, so that
Okay.
might be a little bit.
So I will, the whole 3 things, the Planter Mill, the shaving building, and the dry storage building.
Yes.
We'll name that like so. Expansion. Right. Fee paid, is the front office will take care of that. Notice provided by the CEO to landowners within 500 feet. I think we already take care of that, and we're gonna do a second round of it, in a different form, inviting them to a public meeting.
I paid the $100 fee earlier.
Okay, great. There's 50 here though.
Under the developed buildings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. All right. I'm gonna check that out. If you paid for land. As for buildings and land, there we go. No. Yes. And, all right. Notice forever CEO to municipality within 500 feet, that's not applicable, is that?
Wait, me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's complete.
right. Application form. It looks complete to me. Applicant's agent authorization letter.
It's not applicable.
Yeah. Copy of deed, option, sales agreement,
Yeah.
listen, and all documentations, title right for interest.
Yes, we got that.
It's complete. Break-in waiver request. NA. Copy of tax map of property. Complete. A copy of Kennewick, company soil map of the property.
Yep.
It's complete. Copy of USGS topographic map showing property location. Complete. Copy of Belgrade shoreline zoning map showing property location.
Yep.
Complete. Copy of flood insurance map showing property.
Yep.
Complete. Copy of national wetlands inventory map showing property. Complete. Copy of map geological survey significant sand and gravel aquifer map showing property location.
It's not applicable in this case.
Right? Not applicable, not applicable. Copy of map drinking water program map of public drinking water supply showing property location.
Not applicable.
Not applicable. Copy of NDOT highway entrance and access permit. NA?
And
Yeah. Copy of MDOT traffic movement permit and traffic movement study.
That's NA as well.
SNA. Copy of others required state or local permits.
It's largely complete. There's a few minor items missing, but good enough to move forward with.
So we'll say complete then?
Yeah.
All right.
Just so you know, one of the items is missing is, and it's also not in the application, is the exterior lighting. Where that's gonna be located.
And that would include building mounted, security lighting at doors.
Yeah,
Just full cut, showing full cutoffs.
yeah, and approximate locations on the buildings.
Uh, 124/36 site development plan drawn.
That's largely complete.
Yeah. Complete. Details to scale drawings showing location and construction specifications of drainage, features, roads, sidewalks, access points, driveways, parking, traffic control features, fire control structures, and public improvements.
We have those.
All right, complete. Documentation meets applicable state and federal air quality regulatory requirements. Complete. Soil erosion control plan,
Yeah, we have that.
complete. MDP certified contractor name,
We don't have that yet, but we can handle that through a condition of approval. Just so that it's submitted prior to the start of construction.
They're not gonna work in shoreline zone, but they need
It doesn't matter if it's in the shoreline zone, as long as it falls under this ordinance.
so, I'm not gonna mark it complete, but I'm gonna put the complete, condition of approval.
So the certified contractor, are you referring to general contractor or foundation contractor, site contractor?
Excavation contractor.
Excavation
Yeah,
contractor.
he has a list of certified excavation.
So even though this is in the zoning,
Anything that falls under the commercial ordinance, we require, the ordinance requires.
okay,
And we can't, this is not uncommon, not to know who that company or person is at this early stage, and that it has to be, just dealt with as a condition, just so that the town knows who that is later.
All right. Locational site structure listed,
we were hoping for a permit tonight, so we could Get going on that.
You and everybody else.
Proud, proud.
Tyler and I are ready to go.
Okay. Location of site structure listed on National Register of Historic Places. That's NA.
Yeah,
Location of ME Historic Preservation Commission archaeological sites. NA.
yes,
Information needed to meet air quality standards.
NA,
NA. Information needed to meet access to public street standard.
it's also NA.
NA.
If somebody disagrees with me, please speak up.
Protection measures for historic and archaeological resources. NA. Estimated quantities of flammable, combustible, and hazardous substances to be stored, handled, or generated, including waste oil or antifreeze. That's NA.
We have information about that. There's
So
none.
that's complete. I should put that complete then.
Yes,
Yes, that's good. Evidence meets MDEP site regulations for oil storage and hazardous substance facility.
it's not applicable.
No. Copy of application provided to fire chief by planning board or CEO. NA.
They're not adding employees. They're just moving process from one location to another.
So that, why is that not?
There's a new building.
And then why would the fire department not be able to go to the back of the lot, which you can already access? Because they already provide service to the whole facility.
Why don't we let the fire department determine that?
Okay. I'll be able to-
I mean, that's, the ordinance asks us to notify the fire department. That's what we should do.
It's a new building, so that's, my question would be that it's a new building and they have to be aware that the building's gonna be back there now.
I mean, I don't think it'd be a big deal, but I think they have we have an obligation to notify them.
So,
Is that something we provided or?
no, this is something that we do.
It's the town's responsibility.
It's in fact being constructed about 50 feet from our largest supply of water.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah. Like I said, it's not gonna be a big deal. It's just a matter of checking off the box.
Okay. All the information needed to meet material storage standard, including bulk storage of combustible and flammable materials and hazardous substances.
It's NA,
SMA. Visual impact assessment.
NA,
Plan based on IF and W critical areas program recommendations to mitigate impact to natural areas and wildlife habitat, including deer wintering areas.
NA,
NA. Other information needed to meet natural resource protection standards.
NA.
NA. Is board requiring post-development noise monitoring and reporting plan? If not required, mark not applicable. If required, mark complete upon receipt.
Actually, I disagree. So in the application, there's nothing checked off that noise, you're gonna be able to meet the noise standard at the property line, but no documentation as how or what that estimate is based on. In your DEP approval, you need to go back to them with a noise assessment and future expansions. Has that been done? So that you could just submit that to us?
Yeah, it hasn't been done because I can't submit to them until you say whether we're a project or. But we would have to do it for them, so we could do it. The equipment is in the building, so attenuation is the walls of the building.
Does the manufacturer have any information on the number of decibels that it'll be emitting? And then you could estimate from that with, since it's gonna be within an enclosed structure, what if the decibels will be at the property line?
You could provide noise calculations if they're needed.
There are different manufacturers, components with this, so it would be.
We'd have to make some assumptions.
Of course, understood. I mean, and just to be clear, and I don't know how the other board members feel about this. The way I see the noise standard applying at the property line, you have to take out, it can't include, how to best say this. You shouldn't be penalized for the noise coming from that part, the rest of the facility. It's only the noise coming from this expansion.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the way I see it, you already have these, currently, you already have a planer, a strata, so you're just transferring that, and it's, this new one's gonna be electrical, so most likely, I have no idea, but you would assume it would be quieter because it's electrical inside. So you're just taking the noise and moving it out back, and it's most likely gonna be less, so I don't.
The planer itself, the physical planer machine
Right,
is in its own enclosed room,
right.
inside of.
But you already have one on the property currently, you know.
Right, and that's not.
Getting rid of that and moving it out
We're gonna
back.
be much lower.
This shows how we're having a rock wool acoustical insulation within the wall cavity. And this is where the planer goes. This is a four-sided enclosed structure that's insulated. So, and yes, you have garage doors, but it's all enclosed with acoustical insulation, so.
Yeah, this is all about making sure that we have the documentation to support a finding that you're gonna meet that standard. And so that any decision on ours can't be challenged.
Correct. Yeah, we can give you that information, and then, of course, if we fail to meet the standard, there would be other issues later.
Right.
It's kind of two-step, but I understand.
Would be, just a second thought, would it be advisable to have like a baseline of the noise now? And
Well,
then,
it sounds like we're gonna get more information about that, so,
this is for them, this is for them.
yeah, so I would
Make
just
it
leave
easy
it
for
blank.
them.
in terms of that.
My thought, in my thinking, if you have a baseline of what the noise is now, and once I would start going to take the same study, which in my mind, will be just like a recording, and you can prove that there's no level noise, higher noise.
So we'll take a baseline off our existing planer
Yeah,
and apply it to the new planer.
that's,
Right.
that would be my thought, that would be the easiest way to go about it.
Well, and you're talking about property lines, and they're moving something that's right next to the property line. Very far away. From an old building without insulation to a new building with an insulation. And a machine that is encapsulated versus one that's now open. So.
So it
That's
should-
enough, that's enough.
so the documentation should show this is a non-issue, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then that just, I should prove it then.
Yeah, so that and the noise, both those boxes probably should be just left.
So just erase what I said.
So, I mean, it's not gonna be silent, but
Yeah,
the noise for the most part is abated.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's gonna.
or, yeah, or actually reduces the overall facilities noise levels.
all right, so, that recommendation,
So are we clear on what we need?
I'm not sure I'm clear. The board is, I'm interpreting what you're saying, that you're requiring a post-development noise. You're not requiring post-development noise monitoring. You are requiring calculations to show how we need to scan.
Yeah, I mean, we have two possible directions we could go under the ordinance. We could, you know, well, how best to explain it? We need some documentation that supports what you said in your application, that you'll meet the noise standard at the property line. So that could be either estimates on your part of what those noise decibel levels will be as a result of these, well, basically the planar building, not the other two, but or we could go the route of a noise survey after completion of construction and start of operation. Noise, I don't have a lot of experience in this, but noise surveys get kind of complicated. And so it would be better to have the documentation up front that would make our decision on the application more defensible.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that too.
And, you know, I mean, you're the professional, you're an engineer, not us, so, you know, we're gonna defer to your professional judgment on the best methodology.
Yeah, the trouble with measurements is the road doesn't meet the standard, so it's hard to differentiate whose noise is whose.
Hmm,
So, but roads are exempt, highways exempt, but,
Right.
but it's hard to know how much of the noise you measure is yours and how much is theirs. The good news for us, either way, is the new location is far enough from the road that the noise will be only us.
Yeah,
So, but I think because we need to send some information to DEP, and it sounds like that information is consistent with what I'm hearing, we're gonna do the same information to both.
excellent.
I'm not sure what DEP is actually requiring. I just saw the condition of approval.
Yeah, they want us to, I have to show them, they have the same standard. So I need to show them calculations to show how we meet that. We meet it by having the what he described. So, you're asking for something I already have to do. That's an easy yes for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well kill
Yeah.
two birds with that one stone.
Okay, the next one will be information needed to meet noise standard. So we will be waiting on that as well.
So we'll need that before 2 weeks from today, look at the next meeting, presumably you can get on the next meeting.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. so-
Don't we need that? Then,
Wait a minute, I'm not so sure, but
all right, exterior lighting plan and specification for lighting fixtures. We're gonna,
We have to do that. You mentioned it already.
okay,
Please.
thank you. Is board requiring post-development light monitoring or and reporting plan? If not required, mark not applicable. If required, mark completed upon receipt.
I mean, I think it's unlikely that we were required, but probably best to hold off until we see the lighting plan.
Okay. Information to meet parking standard. No applicable, huh?
That's NA.
NA. Written statement from fire chief on capacity of fire department to provide adequate protection. So we're gonna need that. Fire chief. That's something that we're gonna do. The town.
Yeah.
Written statement from sheriff department approving any proposed security measures.
That's NA.
NA. Other information to meet public safety and emergency services standard.
NA.
NA. Information to meet screening of structures, parking lots, and other non-residential uses standard.
I actually have a question about this. Is the property, where's the property, actual property line, your actual property line? Is that little camp road, the property line?
Camp Road's actually part of the property.
Oh, it is?
The line is the other side of that.
Okay, all right. So the trees that are along the road are on your property?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would say this is complete. That's my personal opinion. There's some existing vegetation there. There's a requirement for vegetative screening from neighboring residences.
We have an existing stockade fence as well, which helps.
Oh, okay.
And in this case, we're far enough from the grade hill. I'm not sure they can see us from the road.
Yeah, that was my take from your drawings.
But with the fence and the trees there, I'm pretty confident that you won't see us. But
Okay. Yeah,
All right, so that's complete then.
yes.
Thank you. To scale profile face on view of proposed signs.
NA.
NA. All the information to meet sign standard.
It's NA.
NA. Stormwater management plan.
That's complete.
That's complete. All the information to meet stormwater management standard. Let's see.
That and then, so a question, another condition of approval from DEP for any future expanded, for your stormwater system is a, an inspection every 5 years. Has that been done?
Yes.
If that could be submitted, then we could, that could be checked off or used for that box.
Submit our 5-year certification.
Yes, please.
The environmental department where I work does that. Me.
So I guess we just leave that for now. Check it off later.
All right. Subsurface waste disposal site evaluation form.
You're proposing a small subsurface wastewater disposal system. I didn't see in the, at least materials I got, the
Last
DHHS.
week, we had a septic evaluator, Dave Moise, environmental out of Bangor. It passes what we want to do. He plans on having to report next week. He was on vacation this week, but he's gonna get it, so we should have it by
The next meeting.
next meeting.
Great. So just leave that.
I'm gonna leave that blank. All information to meet waste standard.
Yeah.
Met. Complete. Groundwater quality and quantity impact assessment. Not applicable. Copy of the restrictions related to drinking water and groundwater protection. Not applicable. One more page.
Not even one page.
Done. This is about it. Copy of main drinking water program for water supply approval and source water protection plan. NA. Copy of MED DEP stormwater management permit. That's complete. Phosphorus export control method. Complete.
Yes.
All information to meet water quality standard. NA? NA?
No, I think that's complete because,
All information to meet
yeah,
water quality standard.
because of the phosphorus control, stormwater control.
Oh,
And once we have the inspection report, we'll have that as supporting documentation as well.
Yeah, right, yeah.
thank you. Supplemental site plan requirements for mineral extraction operations.
Everything else is NA. You're on now.
NA. 5 years mining regulation plan.
Plenty of
NA.
any lithium mining out there or anything.
There was quite a few things at the end.
Planning for gold.
There wasn't an NA box on that application form, so I just put it next to the number.
Mineral extraction process operation procedures and hours. Not applicable. Hydrogeological, I can't even pronounce it. Hydrogeological study of groundwater movement and quality, not applicable. Breathing extraction, processing buffer agreement and with a butter, not applicable. Reclamation plan for extraction processing operations, not applicable. Design operation details of stationary petroleum storage and equipment fueling, not applicable. Other information to meet mineral extraction and process operation standards, not applicable. Information to meet oversight accommodation standard, not applicable. Visual impact assessment of telecommunication tower if located on lake shore or hilltop, not applicable. Mine registered professional engineer certification of the telecommunications tower design, not applicable. Other information to meet telecommunications tower standards, not applicable. Visual impact assessment of wind turbine taller than 100 feet, not applicable. Impact study of wind turbine on wildlife, not applicable. Identification of roads to be used for turbine transportation, not applicable. Hiring of engineer by town at applicant expense to document road conditions prior to use and damage after use. Not applicable either. Yeah.
Has to do with wind power.
Emergency response plan during equipment transport. Not applicable. Turbine general liability certificate of insurance, not applicable. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 items that we need more information on.
Would it be helpful for us to go over those one more time?
Maybe, because I'm not sure I saw it.
Make sure we're all on the same page.
I got lighting, obviously you guys can appreciate, not knowing the permit process and all that. We haven't been to a lot of contractors to try to lock them down yet because of the scheduling and the time of year, but if we were to position them on the buildings and give you a cut sheet or a submittal of a typical fixture, we don't have any plans for pole lights or large area floodlights. They're just going to be wall packs on the sides of the buildings.
Downward facing.
Down facing,
Yeah.
safety.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, so I'll send you, we'll send a submittal for a typical fixture and then we'll put them on the plan.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Thank you.
So out of the 9, I have 2 already, that one is a condition of approval. That contractor name and number, certified contractor name and number. And then we have to talk to the fire chief, that's our doing. So we're down to 7 now. And 2 of them are the same about the information needed to meet the noise standard. So we are down to only 6 there. And the exterior lighting. So 1 is the noise, 2 is the noise standards, 2 is the exterior lighting plan. 3 will be there's two checkpoints that talked about lighting. So that's concise in that. Just again, noise is 1, lighting is the next one. And then we need everything signed from fire chief on the capacity of the fire department, that's the town. So that's not yours. So we're talking about 2 so far. And then surface wastewater disposal site evaluation form. So that's number 3 for you guys. And then the HHE 200. So it's only 4 actually. I have-
Yeah, the HHE 200 is the same.
And the contract, yes, and the contract.
The 5-year certification.
You covered the couple.
date
Right.
Yeah,
is-
so you were right, it's 5 from the get-go. And we can give you copies of this checklist too, if that help you out.
It would be, I'd like it.
Huh? Okay, we'll do that. So anything that needs extra stuff, I put a line on the side.
I didn't figure that out until second page.
So, all right, so I think with that, we have each one of us our homework to do.
Yeah.
And so everybody's clear on what is needed.
Are there any additional reviews or questions about the buildings themselves? Not following Lubec and, I can provide stamped drawings of the structure and how we're gonna build it and all that, but that's not
No,
required.
not for me. To be honest with you, not based on just what was submitted, not knowing, what's in your heads. The issue that was most important to me was the noise.
Yep.
And it sounds like you're gonna be able to address that quite easily.
So I'm gonna leave this out to get copies of it, and I think, other than that, I think we're good on this application.
Do you want a minute intermission?
Sure.
So we couldn't ask for a permit with these conditions tonight. Since it kind of is expecting what we were expecting for conditions, so there's no way it's just to approve the permit subject to these minor conditions tonight.
I can only speak for myself.
Okay.
I can't speak for the whole board, but I think it's highly inappropriate to design a project or by condition, and just DEP takes the same position and our ordinance takes the same approach too. So there's some things that minor things that we can do that with, like the certified DEP contractor. And there may be others that come up when we get into this in more detail at our next meeting. I mean, we need to give, and we're obligated to give the public an opportunity to have their say if they wish to. Nobody may show up. There's a good chance nobody will show up. A lot of our applications, they don't. But
As far as
sometimes they do.
notification, did it say the meeting was tonight?
It did.
So we've already done that.
I was,
There's no ordinance that says you must have 2 meetings for a commercial development review. I mean, I came in last week and talked to Hans, the code enforcement officer, and he didn't know of that, so it just kind of surprised me.
Well,
I know that you have a right to, but it didn't seem like.
it isn't a matter of option on our part. It isn't a choice. It's in the ordinance that, you know, that the board in the first meeting has to approve the checklist by vote to ensure the application is complete. Once the application is complete, then you can then the board is allowed to post it to the landowners within 500 feet for a public meeting. That dictates the second meeting. It's not uncommon for us to have a number of meetings beyond that, depending on the quality of the application and the complexity. You've submitted a very good application. I don't see that happening, but I wouldn't be prepared to vote to approve this tonight.
Yeah, Mike,
To
it
be
was
quite honest with you.
my error, okay?
And I
Because
was a
the
bunch of the
protocol-
spot either.
The protocol shows that once the application is deemed complete, notify the butters.
Yeah.
At the same time, before the application comes in this room, I'm supposed to verify this is complete, which I did. I jumped ahead a step because it wasn't deemed complete by the board. So
I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, you just,
I don't feel.
it surprised me that this was gonna be.
He drives the bus.
As we've agreed on what you're looking for, you could make a motion that we're complete except for those items, so that we know that's out, only what you're looking for. If that's helpful to your record, we're interested. If it's not, I just mentioned, I already come away feeling that you're telling me you're complete except for those items.
that's right.
So
Right.
if, whether that needs to be a motion or if we're in a meeting now that has minutes, so the minutes will reflect that, that may be sufficient.
Yeah, but it's hard for us to predict what may come up at the next meeting in its entirety. You know, if a member of the public should raise an issue or bring forward information that we're not aware of, you may not even be aware of. You know, we need to be able to deal with that. And so we can't give 100% assurance that, you know, we're not going to ask additional questions. I'm not saying that we would go back on our word as to what we're requiring of you, because we wouldn't. But
That was only a completeness question.
yeah, so, I mean, we're gonna, as it is, we're gonna bend the rules a little bit because normally we would vote tonight on whether or not we have a complete application. My suggestion is we have a substantially complete application, albeit not 100% complete. And we postpone that until we get the materials that you submitted by the time of the next meeting. Then go through the checklist on what remains, what's outstanding. And then take our vote that the application is complete, have the meeting with, the public, if there are any of the public that are interested. All wrap that up in the same meeting and we can make our decision at that next meeting.
I have a question about the notice to the landowners. As I understand it, we vote on if the application is complete, and then the notice goes out to the landowners within 500 feet. But part of the question on the checklist is a notice provided by CEO to landowners within 500 feet.
Right, yeah.
So is that saying that they sent out a notice to landowners and check it, or is it saying you have a letter on standby to be sent out? Because
Well,
it looks like the checklist is saying.
It's a little confusing, I think.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
But the in terms of the timing, it kind of implies that it's done
For the check-
before you even know whether you got a complete application.
Right, yeah, just I'm a little confused, with-
But,
it's the first.
I mean, that's something that Sarah could check off at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I think, the board, we could consider making a decision that is substantially, it, seems to be substantially complete, however, there's two items. And if the applicant wants to go on their own to start some of the, work on their project, it's on them. But, if they want to do some preliminary work, we could ask them what kind of preliminary work they want to start now, rather than wait another 2 weeks. We could get into that after the discussion, if we want to.
Can you clarify that for me, Pete? I'm not quite sure what you're suggesting.
Okay, so we, basically, we can accommodate their request to a certain extent, we go let them know that if they want to do some preliminary work. And it turned out that they couldn't do that, because we found out information later on in the final decision process that they couldn't. So the thing is, it'd be on them. If there's a problem, it's gonna cost them money, it's too bad, that type of thing.
You mean, actual start construction? Is that what you're suggesting? They go ahead without a
We're
permit?
gonna find out what are they looking, get into the detail, what kind of, what kind of work they want to start, why do they want to start the project early, rather than wait 2 weeks. We can ask them about that.
Go ahead and ask them.
Okay, I just want to find out how you feel about it.
I would feel comfortable to let people go on a project without the final approval of the board, but we won't lose any dimension by asking why it seems to us that you need to get going on this.
We need to find general contractors and foundation contractors. I can't give you a DP certified foundation contractor. They're saying, Mike, do you have a permit in hand yet? And I'm saying, no, sorry. So we're in the middle of a busy summer, and so what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And it's kind of how I feel. So we really got to get a foundation contractor lined up for these buildings, or it's going to be winter time. So that's obviously sometimes you get a conditional foundation permit. Maybe that's not necessary in this particular scenario, but that's what's holding us up is GCs won't talk to us on this large project.
So
until
you're
we have
gonna permit. So is 2 weeks gonna be critical?
Probably not. This probably suffice, but sooner the better. I mean,
So I will give you the next 2 weeks.
if we can get a vote.
Anything I can do for you to help you out, getting this wrapped up in 2 weeks, I will put my hands into it. But, I'm a stickler for the rules, and we are here for the public, so we have to treat everybody the same way.
But
500 feet, that's from that building, that's from our property line.
I did from property line.
So, like, is that what it's supposed to be?
that's all.
Okay, so there's only like 4 on Well, maybe. Those three down in front are all the same guy.
Yeah, but they got LLC, I mean, they're different
Oh,
entities,
So, yeah,
but they all got.
As far as the people being at the meeting, if they didn't come to this one, and they didn't know if it was a permit or not a permit, but they didn't get here, so it's kind of irrelevant whether the permit was complete or not complete, isn't it?
We can discuss, we can argue on that, but the thing is, we have a protocol to follow.
Well, yeah, but I was wondering if you list that as a condition, and the fire chief condition is the down one, and the DOT one is a common one anyway, so there's really not. The lighting one, we'll sign off, I think, we'll have them lights and it's that particular bit, we'll have that. So just list them as conditions,
We are in very good shape. I think in 2 weeks, this permit will be granted. I
What
will-
do you want
as-
that?
as
We
we-
get back here in 2 weeks and we rehash it all over and we find someone, we'll find somewhere, then we're another 2 weeks.
I can guarantee you that's not gonna happen. This application is excellent, very well done. Very, very well done. So, I am sure that the documentation that is missing, it will be here within a few days. We will wrap it up. We open the meeting next time. We check off complete. The public had the opportunity to come. It's transparent to them. They cannot come later and say, oh, this was done, and the table, no, it's all open. And then we will go through the permit checklist, and most likely your permit will be in 2 weeks. We had done this before. It's not the first
So
time.
if the application was complete to your standards, could you have voted theoretically tonight?
That's right. If everything would be all, we could have voted tonight.
So it was kind of our onus that there are a few items which we missed. That it's our own call.
Well, we also.
That's right. I was just saying, you have to, tonight is strictly to see if the application is complete,
It's
correct?
complete.
And then we have to, the next meeting we vote.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would normally be true, but since,
Well, I
because the notices went out,
Yes.
it may have, if we had a complete application tonight, we may have been allowed.
So then what's stopping us from vote? I mean, this application, in my opinion, is pretty, I mean, I'm not worried about the noise at all. I think where they already have those facilities and they're moving into electronic, I think. And then, they're showing with the Rockwell, like the installation. I don't think the noise is gonna be an issue. What is it that's holding us up there?
We're missing 2 pieces of.
The lack of documentation to that fact, among the other things, because if we're not doing Hammond lumber one bit of good, if we approve an application that somebody could appeal to the Board of Appeals and it gets remanded back here because we didn't follow the process and didn't follow the ordinance, we're not doing them any,
Right, no.
not helping them at all.
No, what I'm saying is they're not gonna have that building built in 2 weeks. So how are they gonna be able to prove the noise without having it built? And
They're
then
gonna do estimates.
We agree that.
Yeah, no,
in 2 weeks? Oh,
Yeah.
Is it the majority of the planning board that feels the same way as George, that with the rest of you allowed to vote tonight, that it was complete with these conditions?
That's up to the board to make the motion.
Hypothetically speaking.
We're discussing.
Yeah.
Right. All right, thank you. Leanne.
Mr. Hammond, particularly, I wouldn't feel comfortable approving a permit tonight.
Okay.
And you have a very strong application, extremely strong application. It's just a matter of filling these little things that we have to comply with by the ordinance.
Is there availability in 2 weeks, Hans, do you know?
Yes, you're in, and just so if I could read the section to you here, the 6.2 notice of meeting and requirements.
Yeah.
Okay, section B, the planning board shall conduct a review of the application in open public meetings, that's this. That sentence, the chairman of the board shall provide a period of time for public testimony and comment during review, but may at his or her discretion limit the time period for public comment. So that's where the letters are supposed to go out. The next meeting, the public comes, has their say. And if it's one of these raucous meetings, chairman can shut it down and say, no more public comment, we're gonna go to a vote. So it won't go on forever and ever and ever. It's not gonna lead to another meeting. But this is the protocol.
We can't give our DEP notification until this permit is complete. This is approved.
I have works. But they're not affecting me yet.
Could we ask that the planning board make a vote on this tonight?
I only will feel
With
comfortable.
conditions?
I'll put a motion actually to
If I
table.
may continue,
When,
section C. The planning board is not required to make a decision at a single meeting period. The board may continue deliverance at any future time and location, subject to posting requirements and the 60-day review limitation. So that subject to post deliberations anytime in the future, that would be like to something, a special condition. So this is the regular protocol. It's a
But
process.
could we ask for a vote, a quorum vote? With the planning board
I
members?
can ask the chair, yes. I'm
Could
just.
we ask for a planning board vote to accept our application tonight, subject to conditions?
you put them in waters that have not been before mine.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just asking.
Okay. If
I mean-
that would be the
Do you want us
case,
to recuse ourselves when you talk about it?
well, no.
Okay.
If that, I will say that by protocol, the right thing to do is to get all the information that we need. And next meeting, we'll wrap this up.
Okay.
You have my guarantee on that.
Okay.
But with the caveat that we don't have a surprise coming out of any box. But if everything keeps us going as it is presently, this application is extremely strong.
Okay.
Extremely strong. So I will entertain a motion from the board to table this application for the next meeting. To approve the completed application and then also held the public comment session. And from there, if we can close all that, then we'll proceed with approving the permit.
I'll make a motion to table the application until our next meeting.
All right.
I second.
You seconded. So Peter,
Okay,
Nick,
Yeah. Yes.
I will recuse myself into that. Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Craig.
Sure.
So 4 yeses, one recluse, and we here for the next meeting.
Hans, I have a question for you. In the letter that goes out to the abutting landowners, and this is based on our experience during the self-storage application, where we got people attending the meeting that clearly hadn't reviewed the application itself. Does it say that the application is available on our website or something where they can get the application? I'm just curious, is that because somebody didn't take the time to review it, or is it because they didn't know where to get it?
I do not make reference that it is posted because I send the letter out like tomorrow. And, yes, it is. I don't say it. We put notice, contact the office, contact me, and my cell phone number, but they have methods of contacting us.
So probably what happened during that application is
And I can,
they either didn't take the time or they weren't able to get to the town office. Remember we had the abutter that clearly didn't know much about what was being proposed.
she did contact me. I did let her know it was available.
Okay,
She did, go to the website. I mean, I told her on our website to go to the planning board and the meeting actually it's on the calendar too. There's a link there. So
right, okay.
she,
I was just curious about that because it was kind of inefficient. Might be one word to use, because she didn't seem to know much about what was being proposed.
And I'm using a form letter that's been used for years.
Okay, good, thanks.
Sarah, the submission that we're gonna be doing, they go to the secret code enforcement and then he gets them to you guys prior to the meeting or
Right,
is it a question?
right, right. Right.
So somebody asked for a copy of the checklist?
Yeah.
Is Nichols still in front?
I just want to know what you're writing on.
No, they will.
Yeah, yes. I think a lot of that, 5 minutes.
Thank
Thank
you very much.
you. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's to sell.
What's it?
Thank you.
They wouldn't have enough time to get this.
I'll stand with the
Good night.
Thank you.
Right.
So George, notice in the requirements that the plan acceptance of the application.
Very good, thank you.
Complete.
Sorry, thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
we understand. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, gotta advocate for yourself.
Yes. All right, upon acceptance of an application is complete, the town shall provide notice as follows, all butters, landowners, so forth. So the town isn't the town employee, it's the town.
Town, right, town building. Oh, you mean, is it us or you mean, is that what you're,
The town.
yeah,
The planning board, this town. I'll get it,
right, yeah. No, we're not, the, well. How to answer that, I mean, you're the only person that can do it, let's put it that way, because you sure as heck don't want us doing it.
So I mean, so the notification of the butters, lead application comes in, I'm not supposed to bring it to you for this complete.
Yeah, historically, that's not the way it's been done.
This is always something. We got one set of eyes.
Planning board's gonna deem it complete though, right? That's-
Yeah, we do, and
Right, but that, about, as far as voting tonight, it was my understanding, we couldn't have voted tonight, right? You have to vote on, if the application is complete, and then have the public hearing and vote that night,
It
right?
doesn't say it has to be 2 meetings, it says the board is not required to make a decision at a single meeting, it didn't say,
Right.
Right.
it's just not required to.
So because of the jump thing and everything else, if they would have a perfect application, most likely we would have bounced it out.
yeah,
That's my,
because typically this was sort of an exception to the rule, because normally we wouldn't even think to notify the public for the first meeting, because frankly, most applications that come here are not very complete.
Right.
This is the exception,
It is very
because they have an
exceptional.
engineering
Very-
firm working for them.
Right.
But
It was very, very
that they're as close as they are, but Gagny was sort of in the same boat. Gagny Cement, when they came before us, and a couple others have too, but but because of the way things played out, where the notice did go out, if they'd had everything that they needed, we could have potentially voted tonight.
Mm.
But you're right, it doesn't say specifically in the ordinance, you gotta do it in 2 meetings or more. It just said we don't have to do it in 1. But the reality is most applications that come to us are nowhere
Right.
close to being complete.
And, I mean, I think maybe this needs a little bit of clarification revision, because number 2 under that section says the planning board meeting at which the project will be considered will be posted according to legal postings procedures to public meetings.
So that legal posting is 7 days. So the fact
Tonight
that
it was considered.
it starts tonight.
Well, to post it legally, you're gonna post it, don't you have to post it like at your local stores, your post office?
Post offices, library, front lobby, which it is.
It's posted in all of them.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do it in one night then anyways.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have been different, but we potentially could have done it.
Hmm. It was a very strong application, I'll say.
We are still zooming, there we go. Sorry, Tyler.
No problem.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys circling back.
Roll that.
A couple of great letters here for you. Make it official.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Thank you.
So, we're circling back to item A, new business. With the application of the commercial development review ordinance. We're looking at Article 11, revisions to approved plans. And we had received the first letter from Mr. Tyler Evans. Specifically explaining how lot 9A will be subdivided according to what was prescribed in the original decision. So that satisfied our initial dialogue about this project, about this application of, let's say, pre-application inquiry, so to speak. So should I read the letter? The bullet?
I don't think it's
in the
necessary.
record. Will we write in the record?
Part of the project file.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have the letter, and so we move on to sign the new plans.
Yes, yeah, I have the specific copy here for the registry. I've got black belt signing with, anyone has a Sharpie, they just want it clearly legible, but. And that, we're ready to go.
All right. I think we should proceed to do that, or are there any other concerns, questions from the planning board?
I don't, I would just say, for the record, that, I had gone through, the preliminary subdivision, requirements and, for a minor subdivision. Thinking those were most applicable, and I, concluded from that this meets all those requirements. I do think we need to, when we don't have any findings of fact in law form for subdivisions, we need to develop one at some point, but I think we need to note that for the public record that it meets the statutory review criteria. So that at least in our minutes, it'll be noted.
The review.
So
But for minor subdivision is 4 lots.
So it doesn't even meet the credentials of a minor.
It doesn't.
no, but I thought that was the closest. regardless if it's minor or major, or an amendment, it's an amendment to a major subdivision. You know, the statutory criteria, and I believe only one has changed since this was approved in 2004, but there are things like, you know, water pollution, sufficient drinking water, municipal water supply, that's obviously not applicable. Soil erosion, that's not gonna be issued, traffic's not gonna be issued, sewage disposal is not gonna be issued, municipal solid waste is not an issue, aesthetic or cultural natural values, this is you know, part of the, it's not like it's on the lake shore or something. Conformity with local ordinances, this already indicates that it will, and that indicates that it will. Financial technical capacity, that's not relevant here, I don't think. Surface water, outstanding river segments, irrelevant here. Groundwater, that's not an issue. Flood area is not an issue. Fresh area water wetlands is not an issue. You know, spaghetti lot prohibition, that's not, all those things are, the only thing that's new and is not relevant here is the liquidation harvesting standard, which is new. That's not relevant here either, so I think we're in a good place.
So do we require any vote for this? No voting,
Yeah, no, we vote.
we vote.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need a motion and we need to vote.
I will entertain a motion, but I have no idea what to say in the motion.
You want me to try?
Yeah.
I would make a motion to approve July 6, 2023 request by Evans Development LLC to divide lot 9 into 2 lots. Having found that, what's the date of that drawing?
Page 5.
July 2023.
The July 2023 plot plan conforms with the statutory review criteria and the ordinance, Belgrade subdivision ordinance.
Second,
Okay.
Peter?
Don't look so stunned, Pete. Whatever it was.
Okay, we got, I'll try 2 seconds on the floor. So now we're gonna vote. Pete,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sarah, vote yes too. Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
5 yeses, none opposed. The motion passed. So now we're gonna go and sign the plan. Drawing.
We've got the application.
The old drawing.
Start signing here.
Just in this block here, if you
It had
just
to
run
be-
that line.
It has to be with a Sharpie or can we with a
Do it all with the same.
same pen?
Yes, please.
Tyler, I don't know if it was you or somebody else who told us that the filing procedures at the registry of deeds changed in recent years. Is that true?
Yeah.
Now we have to put the date here.
Yes.
So date is today,
Weight of paper.
July
The weight
6th.
of paper.
Weight of paper, and they're not doing Mylar.
What's the date?
Oh, okay, that's what,
Six.
no Mylar. But no electronic submission. No.
So I think.
Well, I've gone to their website before, and you know, they're like 20 years behind everybody else. So it'll be a while before they accept electronic.
So what is, why they wait, especially when you.
20-pound paper, it's very specific, they won't take anything less, and they used to be Mylars, so that was, those were the clear.
Yeah.
That was the thing for 40 years.
Yeah.
No Mylar,
No
no.
Mylar,
Yeah.
but 20-pound paper. And don't ask me what the typical is, but it's certainly not 20, you have to source out. very specific 20-pound paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably can't just go to the office manager.
Right. And Staples can't do it.
Anybody else need to say good?
Good enough, again. Yes, sir.
Oh, Mr. Baker missed today, huh?
He might have been on the board back, was he, before?
No, he was not actually.
I don't
I
know.
was not, I was specifically with that, none of us was there.
It looks like, and he just got off the board, Peter Rushing was on.
He
Peter
was,
was there.
Yeah. So, do we need to just sign the one and you get us a copy? Is that?
Yeah, so this will be recorded tomorrow. I'll bring it in the morning. They'll record it and then we can print. If you guys want a copy for the file
Yes.
here, I'll bring a.
Yeah, just bring it to Hans.
Yeah, and they'll have it stamped, so that would be
Oh, yeah. that'd be
better than
good.
leaving one of these.
Yeah, right. Very good.
Good, thank you.
All right,
Oh,
thank you.
We have, just like good, start moving from Belgrade to Belgrade or?
So my in-laws, they live 490 Smithfield Road.
Oh.
The red farmhouse, it was the Stevens house, so David Stevens and his siblings grew up there,
Oh,
just past Tukey's, just north of Tukey's.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rick and Barbara, Ray,
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, I knew that.
yeah. Yeah, so
So they're moving.
they're moving, yeah, they've been there for 40 years,
Yeah.
looking to downsize, they thought they were ready for a condo in town, and then once they start running the numbers and look at what they have, that's going with them. They determined they weren't ready for
Yeah.
1,200 square
You
feet.
can only downsize so much.
Yeah, they want a place. family.
The son-in-law just like you.
What's the maiden name?
Ray,
Right.
yeah, so they're teachers in Belgrade, Rick and Barbara Ray, they were teachers in
Yeah.
Belgrade, went on to be educated in Augusta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did he teach at Winthrop? Is that where he taught?
No, Augusta School.
Augusta.
Yeah, she was in Fayette after about a decade in Belgrade.
Yeah, good people.
Yeah, they're good people. So going from a 200-year-old farmhouse to brand new construction.
they probably love it.
They will, yeah.
You know,
Getting the son-in-law, I think they'll enjoy that even more. They do.
It's gonna be a big adjustment, they'll be living in a silent house,
That's right.
no creaking, no groaning.
Well, yeah, hard time sleeping at first.
Yeah.
Is it one frontage you guys have down there? Yeah.
So, no, but there's a common lot, it abuts the Central Maine Railroad.
Yeah,
So there's quite a bit of frontage on the railroad, which has frontage on the water.
right. And you guys, can young people use that water current?
You know, I certainly can't include it in the deed, I can't sell it or market it with that,
Right.
but they wouldn't be the first folks on that shore of Missalowski across the tracks and go for a dip or Warsaw or.
Yeah.
Straight out of the way.
Right.
You know, everyone does it, and it's actually, there's some really nice there, there's a little jetty where the original, it's Dyer Estates, it wasn't Dyer Farm. So when old man Dyer passed away, his family built 3 camps down on the other side of the tracks.
Oh, okay.
So there are 3 season homes down there.
Oh,
I don't plow all the way down, they've got easy access,
yeah, good.
you know.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. Don did this in 04, paved the road, underground utilities, and it sat vacant
Yeah.
for 18 years, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, no one spends that money to put some of the infrastructure to then.
Yeah.
Up there, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty unique.
Yeah, no, it is pretty nice the way to go that way.
Yeah,
You can afford
yeah,
you're lucky you bought it.
I am. At the right time too.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
sure did. And getting all of it to have control over the process. And I built that one in the fields, the one that you can see.
Yeah,
To kind of set the tone. I could build 13 houses out back and no one would ever know they exist.
it. Right,
You
yeah.
know, so all of a sudden it's on folks' radar and that kind of set the tone for the other development to come.
So you have some interest in the other lots.
Yeah, I'm not selling them until they're complete, so I'm already
Right.
building one spec, and that's the, folks that borrow the first house in the field, that's a neurologist and pediatrician. So they're working at Maine General Inland. Folks bought number 2, grew up here, recent widow, want to get back closer to family, she's a working professional, and then the third, a retired economics professor from Indiana, moving back here to help his 95-year-old father.
Mm,
So it's a really neat demographic.
Yeah, no, it is. And a lot of common stories there too.
Yeah. So it's good for town. Good for me, good for everyone.
Yeah, good.
That's right. I think so. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's have a great
Have a
night.
good evening.
You too. So we're moving on to item, I would say C, food truck survey.
Yeah, just, we all have a copy of that. We don't have a commercial ordinance addressing food trucks. This is an interesting item that was sent to me. How other towns have basically looked at and treat their food trucks. And it's just a matter of time before one shows up and we have to deal with it somehow.
Mhm.
So we have an ordinance or a rule on the books, we've got something to enforce.
Yeah.
So this is just wet your whistle, look it over. Wrap your mind around what you think Belgrade should have and who should address it. Select board, part of a commercial ordinance, what do you want to slide this in?
So. This was before you arrived, was Richard here at that point, or was it Gary? I think Gary was still alive and. A food truck had set up, maybe two food trucks had set up over at the Old Town office. Along the side of 27.
Mhm.
And that people, were quite concerned about that, including some of the select board members, primarily because of the traffic and that intersection being pretty dangerous. It's interesting that and maybe some of these are it falls under some of these, but traffic safety, would seem to me to be a key concern. Or at least of course, we have a food truck down and have had for years down in the village.
Okay.
Or
Yes.
not a truck, it's a trailer.
Same thing, it's on wheels, it's
Yeah.
mobile. Yeah.
So, Hans, is it, the survey, who actually did the survey?
This came out of the MMA, somebody that did it, just kind of like an FYI, this is what they were doing research and spreadsheet they made and they shared it.
So are any of these towns do have ordinances, right, or they?
Yes, this is.
Okay, all,
That's the ordinance.
so this is the only towns in Maine that ordinance for food trucks.
This is the one that they discovered or
Hmm.
they turned up.
And Portland has a
Just to
pretty
give us an idea.
sophisticated system for, including a lottery for space, food truck spaces on the east end there, because, there were so many of them.
Yeah, they have by far the strictest,
What's that?
they have by far the strictest.
Yeah, and,
Well,
I mean, I love eating at food trucks myself,
Yeah,
but,
I do.
well, the big loophole here is the last column, private property. So, we're down south, Lowe's was the target for everybody. They wanted, in fact, the point where Lowe's just said, no more. Because everybody was like, well, why are you pulling favors for this hot dog
Right.
stand?
right.
Why are you letting that truck in and they tried to go with different vendors, different days of the week, so they had, taco day, hot dog day, and whatever. But going back to this private property, they have permission to be on private property, there's really not a whole lot you can do. Even looking at Portland, they say within 500 feet of another food establishment. And
One of the issues over here was that they were in the DOT right of way. They weren't entirely on private
That's
property,
right of
but
way.
there's always the question, will DOT even enforce that?
well, and like you said, traffic. If you put a food truck on the weekend across the street at the car lot. Matthias's food car lot, he's gonna have a whole lot more traffic going in there than he does on a normal business day.
Hmm.
Well, I almost got creamed when those two food trucks were there. I was coming on 135 towards the intersection and this really isn't the fault of the food trucks. It's some clown in a pickup came screaming from 27 from the west and went cut across through the intersection, went over the curb into the parking area to get to the food truck and almost cleaned my clock in the process. But you know, that's a very dangerous intersection. There's a fairly high number of accidents that have happened there over the years, and to make it more dangerous, you know, that a site like that would be problematic. But do you have any sense that these ordinances make a distinction between the food truck that's there all summer versus the one that is there for the 4th of July weekend, or, you know,
No, and
old Belgrade days, or you know, whatever?
now, and this conversation is gonna lead into the conversation we had last week, or last meeting. Is, there's a business in the village. Its operation, it's got retail. Under the retail license, now they're baking goods. And gonna be selling baked goods, they're becoming a bakery. But it's under the guise of balloons and things. The baked goods are the things. So she's all licensed, she's got the permits from the state, but it's a change of use,
Mhm.
but it's not. Because of balloons and things. Apparently, she's got the commercial kitchen license from the state. The home commercial kitchen, and she's been preparing cakes for certain clients for years. Because she's been selling the cakes, she was permitted. She went through proper channels. Didn't come to this board, didn't change of use. She's got 5 businesses now, running out of that one building. Which is also her residence.
Right.
So where do we stop? Where do we say,
And this is in the context of the commercial development review ordinance specific, right? You're asking about.
yeah, I mean, at what point do you say, all right, this is a grandfathered business, but how many splinters can you put into this business? Which also goes to the Lake Home building. All right, we put a splinter now for a coffee shop, which from what my understanding was, because the Home Goods was gonna leave, but Home Goods never left, so now you got 3 businesses. In one postage stamp lot.
Yeah.
In the village,
I think
and
that's.
shoreline zoning,
Mhm.
which is a shoreline zone violation as well.
That one's not shoreline,
Yes, it is.
you know,
I'll measure from the backside, huh? I'll show you Google Earth.
Which location we talking about?
Across the board.
gravitate measure it.
Like,
So, Lake Home's not in shoreline.
Actually, I made that same mistake too, didn't I? And
It's nearest
I
water.
believe it.
Property, but nearest water is the neighboring property. 250 feet straight down the street.
Yeah, I said that, and everybody I thought proved me quite wrong.
Yeah,
When this first came up, I don't even remember what mistake. Oh, I know, I had the wrong location, is what I had.
But, all right, this,
So we're talking about the balloon place across the post office.
yeah, so, yeah, we'll go back to balloons and things. Again, she's in shoreline crops.
Right,
that's the grandfather, that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's the excuse for everything.
Well, it is what it is, they have rights too.
They have rights. Again, how many times can they splinter a business?
Well, if it's been doing that right along, then. As many as they want, I guess, if they've been doing it.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to ask them how many times they can split. I mean, it's one person juggle.
Yeah, right. So
How much volume do you think she's gonna have? There's not gonna be a ton of volume there. It's
I
not,
mean, there's a longstanding grandfather retail business, a couple of retail businesses that are the toys, the balloons and things. I mean, she makes the balloon stuff there and then brings it to wherever her
Yeah.
client is, but,
yeah,
and she got the, what is it?
She does haircuts,
she
yeah.
does haircuts.
Yeah.
She's done that since I've known it.
Okay, so, you know, and all those predate the commercial, development review ordinance in 2001, as far as I know.
Bakery doesn't.
And so. She's layered on that, a bakery, or well, not a retail bakery, but a,
Yeah.
oh, retail bakery?
Walk in the front door, turn left.
Okay, all right, so she's layered on that, a retail bakery. I don't know the answer to your question, but it's a use that's consistent with all the other uses. You know, I don't know that we can say that it's a change in use. It's an additional use.
Well, the retail was bookstore, toy store, never was it a bakery, but now it is. Within the past
But she
2
always
months.
bakes cakes, sold them, so it's kind of, you know, you have that home business thing and. You know, not necessarily just one. And it's been going on
For a while.
for a long time, and it's also in. It also has a rental property,
Yeah, that's right. It has been-
yeah, so it has multi
Uses.
things going on there, so how do you? If it's an in alone. You know, she's allowed to cook.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, you know, these businesses have gotten grandfathered over the years. Have grandfathered, you know, prior to our commercial ordinance.
But
They're
there's
gonna sort of go away, they will because of that, all right? The new businesses coming in, trying to do that, they won't be able to do that, they kind of have to come here to us, right? Why not?
somebody buys that building, they're gonna use the same,
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great.
they're gonna keep following through.
On the trail.
It's the building.
And see, none of this is in writing, so
Yeah.
when somebody tells me it's grandfather, I shrug my shoulders and say, where?
That,
Right, okay, so you're looking for direction, obviously, from the town. You know, you're coming here to the planning board to talk about it, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I
And
think,
then we're gonna go to the next level, we'll talk about, we can come up with something, then we're gonna take the select board and throw it in their lap. You know, it's a process, you start, so we can do that, but let's set some time, let's set that set time for this, we can do it and talk about it. But eventually it's gonna go into the selectmen and see what they're gonna say, and they'll be elected officials, and they can
Well-
tell us what to do.
right, and what we're going to is, I think we need to put a sunset clause in our commercial development ordinance,
Right.
where a business hasn't been used for 5 years or so, it's no longer a grandfather business. Otherwise, what our old post office down there could be another marina, right?
Right.
They can service boats and sell gas and,
Right, so this what you, this. Bringing up this, whole dilemma we got here, and it is a problem. We're talking about some sunset clause. Again, we can bring that into the select people and say what they feel about it, they're the elected officials, and they wanna pursue, you know, sunset clause, we can do it. But again, you know, we can take so many minutes each planning board meeting we have, going forth the next 3 or 4 months, or whatever you want, how we want to set it up, you can do that. What do you think is, I'm trying to think this thing through.
well, I think what Hans is trying to understand is how we feel about the whole thing.
Right.
So he probably can put something together and do exactly what you're saying. You will go to the select people.
All right,
Yeah,
so, okay, it's
But so exactly-
Are you gonna help them out, or what, to what extent,
Well-
I don't know.
Well, I guess we're just trying to dialogue, or he's trying to get us into the dialogue of what we think. So if we have first pitch into it.
well, and here's, the role playing here is, my role is enforcement,
Yeah, that's right,
your role is
process.
making,
Yeah,
And I'm trying to do my job, and I can't because,
you know the rules.
well, it's grandfather. I go to a file, the file's empty. There's nothing. There's no documentation of what's permitted, what's not permitted, what's been done. And we organized all that whole office I've got. Put everything by map and lot, so I don't have to go by some business name, and we got it, so. There's no folders for a lot of maps and lots, Carter Marine. Very thin. you know? And you look at that property, how big and expansive, what can be done in there. And, you know, they've got, what, an acre or just under an acre. Across the street, they've got a postage stamp, which we just allowed a third business to go into, which wasn't grandfathered. There was never a coffee shop there, but it's been allowed. So people are saying, how come I can't do this? And where do I go to find documentation that says that that coffee shop was permitted? You know, in the conditions of it. So
I see. It's a big dilemma.
it is, and then going to our, tonight. Our subdivision ordinance, Article 11, clearly says if you created on a lot, it's a revision. So when would that be applicable? If it wasn't applicable today?
Oh, it was applicable tonight, and we approved it, by a based on a demonstration that they met those requirements in the preliminary, subdivision, section. Is what I thought we did. I don't think we waived anything.
So there is a fee structure there, so you'll have to pay for the meeting plus the $50 per lot that he created.
That may be, I didn't, you know,
Charge them.
that wasn't.
I mean, because he didn't fill out an application, so without the application, I mean, that's why I was trying to figure out what's the process
Yeah, you know.
For the revision,
Yeah.
for this to happen.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, but I'm just trying to not belabor the point too long in these meetings, but we need to address, to help you out, do your job, and we can help the whole town, but we gotta talk about it like we're doing about it, but as far as making decisions, we'll get there in about 2 or 3 months after having the discussion. And I think it's correct thing to do.
Do you think in this revision, Article 11, that there can be an exception? You know, if kicking back to the regular subdivision rule, if less than 3 lots have been created in 5 years, this can be waived.
I guess I kind of share your pain on, in the sense, that there are a lot of issues that, in terms of, process that are far from ideal, including, town has an abysmal record of record keeping. Always has, when we moved from that office to here, even then, a whole bunch of, our records got lost. But I agree with Pete, we can't solve all these problems tonight or in every meeting. I think we need to kind of focus back on your initial, or tonight, your original question, and then maybe some of these other things we should, because I think we do have an obligation to help you do your job well. And if that means getting getting our opinion on what the ordinance says and how it applies to a specific case, I think that's very appropriate. A lot of times the answer might be, guess what, we don't really know. But in this case, the case of balloons and things, adding a bakery to a business that has predates the 2001 enactment of the Commercial Development Review Ordinance, grandfathered, if you will, under that one ordinance. Not all ordinances, just that one ordinance. Looking at the definition of change of use, I mean, this is written with the assumption that it goes from one use to another use with single use or not, adding a use, but I don't think it meets the definition of change of use by adding that bakery to it. I don't think the Commercial Development Review Ordinance applies in that particular case. What might apply, but I don't know. I don't feel like I'm in a position to give you good guidance on is the minimum lot size ordinance. And that may be a good question for the town attorney, because this situation is a little different, is subtly different, well, not subtly, it's less than subtly different than Brightside Marine or the proposal for the Carter Marine proposal. And so I don't know what the answer to that is.
Okay, so now we're going back to shoreline zoning ordinance.
We're going all over the place now, wait a minute,
No, I mean, because that's,
okay.
So together is.
no, shoreline zoning, you're allowed. What, 2 commercial properties or uses on 1 property?
Oh, that's the big
So
question. Big
she
question is-
grandfathered. She was grandfathered in all these things, but now she's added the bakery element. You know, it's not a business. It goes back to, you know, like home at
Yeah, no.
office shop.
Point well taken. It's the same question as the minimum lot size ordinance, because it's about lot size and road frontage and shore frontage potentially. I can only speak for myself. I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you, because partly because my mind's a little muddled about it, but partly also because it seems different to me than those other 2 cases that were so clearly answered by the courts.
And what I'm asking also, in the end run, like Peter said. We start working on amendments and changes to our ordinance to accommodate or disallow these things.
Well, all that's gotta go to vote.
It does, but it
Yeah.
starts with us creating something for them to look at. And read. And subdivision, I think. An exemption clause would have saved. Tonight. You know, if there was an exemption, then, you know, if he hasn't subdivided. More than 3 lots in the past 5 years, well, then
Well,
he could be exempt.
we could continue to make rules and rules and rules and rules and still not cover everything in town. I mean, how many rules are we gonna start making? With a lot of stuff is cloudy in the old stuff, but we gotta deal with it, it is what it is.
When you don't have it, then you can't be fair to everybody.
And that's the bottom line right there.
Because we let Tyler come through with the next subdivision. You know, what if it's somebody that's not in favor of the town?
Well,
You're gonna say no, just.
I very much agree that we need to treat everybody equitably under our ordinances. That's strong words. And, you know, we've heard this numerous times from numerous people. I think though, in this particular case, to treat balloons and things the same way we treated Brightside Marine and the same way we've treated Carter, at least under the commercial development review ordinance and also the shoreline zoning and minimum lot size ordinances. I think we just need to get an answer to if you're layering this other business in the same structure, does that have any implications with regard to, you know, needing more lot size or more road frontage? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, what if she starts selling cars?
Well, why don't we just go to the town attorney and,
Yeah, I think we will need to get a legal counsel on that.
yeah,
Because
because
you think-
this is different than those other 2
She is-
cases.
Her business is like, she's a multitasker. I mean, you can go there with any idea, any project. And if she has the tools to help you out make it, she will float it. And we have seen this through the years. This is not new. She is multi-talented. And whatever project comes her way that she can, with her skills, she can make it go, she goes. And so, what's making money this time of the year? Baking, what's making money this time of the year? The balloons. You know, so she moved from one thing to the other. So it's hard to harness what is the use for that building in that sense. Because it has always been like that. It's what she has a business and she puts in what makes money, what cuts her bills. It always have been like that. It's
Isn't this
not,
the first person to complain about a new business in town?
Was that, say that again?
Who was the first person to complain about a new business in town?
I don't know what you're trying to say, I missed it.
Who was the thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
that's it.
I mean, so what else is new? You know,
So,
I mean, we can't solve that problem.
So Hans, she's always been like that too.
so she's-
That's one of the many talents.
So here's the thing, she's complaining about a coffee shop. And a coffee shop's pointing right back at her. She's allowed. I just,
Yeah,
I'm getting phone calls,
yeah,
both ears.
yeah, no, you are and you always will.
Sarah did kind of explain her situation
Yeah.
fairly well. And it does change from season to season, so it's been multitasking different things like baking, balloons, haircuts. If she's coming in, she's got a rental right behind it. And, you know, so there's 5 things right there I just named off.
Yeah.
And it changes from season to season to season.
Yeah.
And it's been like that forever. So how do you say you can't do that now?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the one saying you can't do that now.
That's why you're doing what you say.
Smart man that you are.
Well, I'd be pissed myself. if someone
Yeah,
told
but
me
in
that.
retail is buying and reselling at a.
Well, you're trying to limit it to a certain word, but some of the stuff can't be limited to certain words. It's so cloudy. And that it's not just retail. I mean, is a haircut retail?
It's a motorcycle retail.
It's a service, but you know, it's been there forever.
Right.
The
So-
balloons and things has been there forever.
That's
The
retail.
toys been there forever.
Yeah. I mean,
So they sell motorcycles too, because that's retail.
What?
No, that's pushing it out of the,
Motorcycle?
you're gonna put a motorcycle in a living room?
Well, she's got a sidewalk, so. Put them in the basement, roll them around there.
You selling motorcycles?
Okay, guys,
If you want,
You know?
theoretically.
we,
Oh, theoretically, I'm sorry.
I mean,
I
you
can't
can do
keep
that,
up.
you can keep going like that with
Yeah.
every business in town. I mean, at some point, it's just gotta stop. I mean, why? You know, at some point, it gets to be too much regulation and you're gonna sit there and bang your head off the wall all the time because you're trying to figure out a way. Why can't they do that?
Well, why is she complaining about the one on the street? when she-
That's the way she is. That's all I
Okay,
can
this
say.
is what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with both sides of that coin.
Yeah,
Too much regulation, not enough. I
Yeah.
get complaints that I'm not doing my job. I'm getting complaints that I am doing my job.
Let me ask you, where does the town manager come in play here? Are you out there by yourself doing this? or you
Yeah,
get
this is my role. The
Okay,
enforcement is
right,
my role,
okay,
not her role.
right, okay, so I'm just thinking, you know, you gotta find out what does your boss feel about this, you know? Does she want you to do this, or she doesn't?
She does treat everybody the same, which
Yeah.
is what I'm supposed
I'm
to
trying
try
to
to do.
yeah.
Okay, all right, and then the next level, you gotta get, then we get involved, all right? Then we're gonna look for our management people, it's gonna be select people, so. What I'm getting at is, she discussed here, like, tonight is great, but you're gonna, you're in the middle, because you're an enforcer. You gotta talk to, your management, the people who need to know up there, and it's all one big town type of topic, and I'm not saying it too well, but
The village is always gonna be a.
yeah, and then you got a comprehensive plan.
Always gonna be.
You got a comprehensive plan with your business district and all that. So again, you're gonna come back, we're gonna have to have a discussion with the select people. Or there's gonna be someone here, at the, gonna be planning board a little bit, gonna be you, it's gonna be town manager, and we're gonna be talking to, the selectmen, and they're gonna have to listen to us. And, and do you wanna do that? If you got the time to do it, talk to your boss about it, when, town manager, then do we have time to do it? I don't know. So let's move along with it, but I don't want to delay. It's great talking about it, but we gotta come to an end.
Well, this is where we start. We talk about it,
yeah,
determine decides, are we gonna take this up as an issue
Okay,
and do something about it? Are we gonna write an amendment? Are we gonna write, change an ordinance,
So,
additions and deletions. Gets written, gets proposed, they approve it, goes to vote. And that's the process, but this is where it starts.
this will be my suggestion to all this. I would like to see, like, you keeping a journal of this particular incidents. And what you will, in your best, concurrence, what you will suggest to do, that is in writing. So then, moving forward, we can refer to that. And then from the rest of the planning board, if we can go home and think about it, or an idea come back, we will send it to you via email. So all this is documented somehow, and it does not just stay in a dialogue that you have conclusion. And at one point or another, all these things will incongruent, I will say, in whether it's gonna be an amendment, or it's gonna be a new rule, or simply say, well, we cannot do anything about that. It's not necessarily something that we can place in an ordinance. It's just is the dynamics of the town. But whatever is hinging your job, you should keep a journal of it. And where you don't have clear direction on how to be fair. It's not, definitely, hands down, I understand your pain on that portion. So if you keep a log of it, and then they're gonna come a time that all those entries that you have, 3 or 4 of them will be the same. And you say, well, we can pin all this 5 with this rule. And then, so that will give you weight to say, listen, I have 10 cases in the last 2 years, the same thing. And I'll be saying the same thing. We have to institute this rule. And you have all that documented by date, where it was, what happened. And I commend you what you're doing, because the history of what have been done in permitting in this town is not pretty. And you have the courage to really start cleaning house.
Hans, I'd make your job easy and just say she's grandfathered in. That's it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the problem.
That's it.
That's-
The coffee shop complains that she's grandfathered in. She's been here forever doing
Okay,
it.
it's all
That's
right.
that's what's been done for
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
is, oh, whatever, okay, no problem, no problem. no
But then
problem.
everybody's
But
doing
the
it.
rules say, you know, Shane Chapu made some good points here in the past. You know, I woke up, I wasn't doing my job to the full extent. And he made me sharper. And I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna hold people accountable. And if we need to put exclusions in our ordinance, and we put exclusions in the ordinance, but we can't say on the fly that this applies here and this doesn't apply there. We need, like you said, documentation.
Mhm.
And Nick, if I were just to let everything go, then
No, I'm not suggesting you let everything go. I'm saying like in the particular cases of businesses and residencies that have been doing something for a long time. I mean, that's just what it is. If a new building comes in and they apply for a coffee shop, or they come in with a new business, then they're gonna, they're subject to ordinances that have already been written. But somebody that's prior and grandfathered in, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? They can complain all they want, but it makes your job fairly easy. Look, she's been here forever before the 2001 ordinance. Doesn't apply to her. That's simple. You're here afterwards, you're subjected to these ordinances, and that's just.
And that's just the way
it works.
with every
That's the way it
ordinance there is.
Exactly. It's timing is everything, so you might not like it, but that's what it is,
In terms of the coffee, I mean, I was initially, as Craig and others can attest to, I was skeptical of that initially, but in terms of documentation. Well, I was skeptical of the having the coffee in a separate wagon kind of thing out in the parking lot. But because of the minimum lot size ordinance, I don't know what other documentation there may or may not be, but it would be in the minutes of a couple of meetings, because it came to this board twice, brought by the town manager, Anthony Wilson, because he was sort of an advocate for it. And the owner of the operator of the coffee facility or whatever you want to call it, was here and they were quite pleasant and, along with a host of other business people advocating for it. So there should be something in our minutes. I can't tell you exactly when. It was probably,
Just before last summer, it was like May,
might have been last spring or something.
April, May of last year.
Yeah. So that's the only documentation I know of, but you know, like, I mean, there was no decision made on our part other than an interpretation of the commercial development review ordinance.
Okay, so getting back to food trucks, remember hearing when I first started that there was a pizza, somebody was making pizzas, basically on the sidewalk. So how did they get on that? Under what ordinance, what rule?
They didn't get run out. He was doing that, he just decided to sell.
Is this down in the village we're talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, in that old carriage house there,
yeah.
in that little parking area or whatever?
So that was
Tires.
permitted.
Well, I don't know exactly about the pizza thing because it was on wheels, it's portable, it's food truck. But he wasn't permitted for the commercial kitchen they put in downstairs. I don't know the details, you'll have to look at it.
The property changed hands too, didn't it?
Yeah, he just sold. I don't know why. Probably wasn't making enough money doing pizza, I don't know. But that's the same building where they used to have the shop and the barn. And they had a
Craft
van,
store.
and, you know, so. You know,
And that's, I found they are permitted for retail in that barn.
yeah, because it's been there before.
Well, I found paperwork supporting it too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
News to me, I didn't know that.
Someone put it in the wrong file. I found it when I was searching another case. But we all know that was there, it was grandfathered, yet when I was hired, my first task, I was told by a select board member to go stop them from having a pop-up market.
From this board?
Not this board.
What board?
Well, you're gonna do it just like what this.
No, you don't.
No, he answers to the town manager.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Well, I answer myself,
Sorry.
so I'm not gonna do something I know is just personal vendetta.
I mean,
Right, okay.
I mean, there's a,
I did it because I was naive, and I learned it was more of a personal vendetta, and I'm,
Yeah, you're not a hitman. Yeah.
but that's how this office has been weaponized, and that's why I need rules.
Yeah.
right,
Gotcha. I,
I'm kind of curious, you know, for code enforcement officers, do you belong to an association within the state of Maine? You know, there are code enforcement officers all in the other town, so. State of Maine must have some type of jurisdiction or regulation over code enforcement officers.
They do.
State law.
Yeah, I can be.
this is right in the state law. You are instituted by state law.
So who's that? I'm just kind of curious. Who's,
Falls under, the fire marshal,
well, the fire marshal? Really? The code enforcement officers,
and the plumbing inspectors.
licensing and all that stuff.
Falls under Paul Demers, fire marshal.
really.
So,
So I'm just, why I asked that is because the kind of questions you have come up, you know, also the other four code enforcement officers around the state have the same kind of issues and questions. So how do you guys resolve those kind of things?
we're all municipal officers
Yeah,
or employees, and it all comes back to the ordinances that we're allowed to enforce.
that's how the fire.
Even putting fine structures, fines in the ordinances gives us the teeth to levy fines. Without the ordinances are, it's our teeth. Without that, we have nothing to.
Okay, do you guys have a monthly meetings among
No.
you guys? I mean, you know.
All ordinances are different, but not every town is the same. So,
So Hans, to go back where this all started, this conversation. You know, it seems to me the first step in any of these questions where you got people throwing spears at each other is to figure out what the existing ordinances, how they apply or don't apply. With respect to balloons and things. I personally don't think the commercial development review ordinance applies. The question is, what about shoreline zoning and minimum lot size, particularly shoreline zoning in this case, with respect to the lot sizes and all that and number of uses? And that's something I think best addressed by either having a conversation with one of the attorneys at MMA or the town attorney. If you don't want to rack up a bill, call MMA. Because I'm guessing this is not newly plowed ground. This is something that they know the answer to. Because, you look at Camden, you look at, Naples, you look at downtown Rangeley. I can't, we're not the first ones to encounter this kind of issue. I can't believe that. So that's my advice for what, that and a buck 75 gets you a cup of coffee down at days, but.
But they also, when they're talking to the town attorneys, you gotta give them all the information too.
You do.
And so they've got to be made aware that she's always had a rotating business going there, always have done that. And she's got 4 or 5 things going from way back, and, so when you're asking.
No,
One grandfather business, she's gonna introduce more and more.
well, no, I mean, I think,
Introducing them, she's already been doing them, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying,
and it's just a question of,
and that's what you're gonna.
she's just recently added this other enterprise. And does that matter?
Well, has,
Given that everything, to the fact that everything else has been ongoing, predating. Well, it predates the commercial development review ordinance. It may not predate shoreline zoning and the minimum lot size ordinance.
We gotta understand when she acquired.
I mean, and the
property.
advantage of doing that is
Once you,
then
once
they,
you
if
start,
they don't know the answer, because we don't know all the answers, they
once you
can tell you what
started,
additional information you need.
the answer will be when you started, balloons and things. When that was instituted. That's the date that will start, setting course on what can be applied and what cannot be applied.
Well, I know balloons and things and the toy thing been there since I moved to Belgrade Lakes Village in 1980. Probably was there a long time before that.
along with the inn and along with their bacon.
And the rental unit,
Yeah, and the rental.
I knew
unit.
somebody that rented it.
Well, all that stuff's been existing.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's just focus on the bakeries would be my suggestion.
Now,
yes and no, because she's been doing it right along, so she just expanded a little bit, got better equipment. So how can you say you can't do that?
Oh, is that the case? I didn't.
She's
Yeah.
been making cakes and stuff for people right along.
which is multifaceted, for sure.
And
Now, that, going in
so
different,
you go from your kitchen oven to a bigger oven. Is that breaking the rules?
Yeah. It's sort of like going from not having a sign to having a sign, At some point, you break the barrier,
I guess I
or
could
the
just
plane.
find out how long she's had that commercial kitchen license
Yeah,
based on that.
yeah, I mean, that's a sort of de facto kind of thing.
and keep all that recorded in one file, all your notes in one file,
When where she's had it in. Doesn't that allow you to cook for your end customers?
She doesn't know.
Well, you said she was delivering cakes for a long time
She's
too, right?
raising real, she's not,
Yeah.
she's not leaving.
Now, another thing that's gonna come our way eventually, we talked about this last year. When it was fought, is that Airbnb stuff. So we don't have a way to regulate it.
We
but-
chose not to a few years ago. We chose not to.
Oh,
because-
really?
Yes, because, if you do the Airbnbs, then you gotta regulate all these people renting their camps. And it's been a long-standing tradition in the town of Belgrade to rent your camps to pay for your taxes. And everybody knows the taxes are going through the roof. So you're not only gonna handle Airbnbs, but then you're gonna handle every individual that rents their camp around the lake.
Interesting. I didn't know that,
So
like,
we
that's right
walked
out
away
there.
from that. 2-3 years ago.
That's not to say that it couldn't come up again, but yeah, that's, Craig's exactly right. There's no good way to distinguish one from the other, and so how, you know,
Interesting.
versus like South Portland.
I just,
or
when people
someplace like
ask
that.
me, I just wanna know what to answer. So now I know.
Well, there's just no good way to, I mean, yeah, it's the tradition, as Craig said, long time tradition, and then, and you know, how do you regulate? An Airbnb, how's that versus the unit that's rented out by a real estate agent or just by the owner?
Hmm,
I mean, it's-
Makes sense here. Well, thank you. We learned something new today. I just learned something new today. So should we move to all business?
Move on.
All right. So all business will be the approval of the minutes of 6/15/2023. Everybody has that chance to read the minutes?
Yeah.
You know, she don't put.
I'd like to just point out, just for the record, my name has one R instead of two Rs. She spelled it correctly at the end. But two times it's two Rs. And one C.
There's two C's and one R.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah, she had it right.
She had it
Yeah.
correct, and then when I motioned, second motions, she has two Rs, one and one C. Not a big deal, just find it out.
Oh, okay.
Instead of calling you Saccaro, she will call you Saccarro.
Exactly. Roll that in.
No, carro means car in Spanish.
What's it mean?
Carro means car in Spanish. Carro.
Two Rs, right?
Tu R,
Yeah.
carro. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of 6/15/2023.
I have a few corrections.
All right,
First, one is under call to order online attendees. In addition to Chuck Ritchie, there was Trish Carr. And I believe there was somebody else, but I don't remember who it was.
oh yeah, there were two women on Zoom. It was Trish Carr and was somebody else.
And
It was
somebody
the
else.
sister or cousin.
Yeah, you're right.
That will
But I
be,
don't know the name, so
that will be
I'm
right.
sure she could look at the tape and
Yeah,
figure that out. This is minor one, under old business number one, discussion, second paragraph. Unless Trish Carr identified herself as Mrs. Carr, I would suggest changing that to Ms. Carr.
okay.
And then in the next paragraph, second line said main geological survey, a copy of the main geological survey was actually the main geological survey aquifer map. And then I would suggest that the add page numbers.
All to the minutes, yes. Page 1 of page 3, of 3,
I think that would be appropriate,
page 1 of total
yeah.
number of pages.
And then on the second page, under decision, the first paragraph, the board voted unanimously in favor by a vote of 6-0. can't be 6-0, it has to be 5-0.
Mhm.
And then next paragraph, second line, at the end, it said 30, it wasn't shrubs, it's trees. Because we had the discussion about how what they planted wasn't really trees.
Okay.
And the last thing I had was at the bottom of that second page, minutes from the previous meeting. She has June 15th, it was June 1st.
Yeah, and, well, we're on that page. And the board voted in favor by a vote of 5-0 again,
Oh, right, understand.
right above that, right above minutes from the previous meeting.
The other one that was online was the young guy that was for the consultant for the storage units.
Right, but wasn't there another woman online?
Yeah, that was Chuck Ridge.
Yeah, Chuck, right?
Yeah,
And then, well, you mean in the background?
Yeah.
Video, oh, okay, yeah.
yeah,
There were two.
maybe my memory's in error, but she can figure that out from looking at the video.
Hmm.
Caitlin can, that is. So, unless others have, I'd make a motion to approve, as amended.
Second,
And we go for roll call vote, Pete,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
Sarah, vote yes. George,
Yes.
Greg,
yes.
5 in favor, don't oppose. And we approve the minutes of 6/15/2023. Okay, CEO update.
Next meeting, you're gonna have Hammond, and I got 2 residential applications.
Shoreline zoning.
One of them is a neighbor to James Smith down on Mesalonsky. The old condos are tight. She wants to expand, but she's also gonna move away from the water side. So she's very conscious of the runoff coming off of her camp.
Hmm.
She's so close to the lake that she feels guilty every time it rains. But it's a steep incline. I mean, I visited the site and I get where she's coming from. She wants to make things better. So,
Very good.
and forget the other one now. Nothing too serious.
Hans, do you have any sense of, we're gonna see a complete application from, I don't remember the name, but it was that one that was sort of contentious with the flag, where the neighbors were here and fairly upset. It had to do with a series of things. I think it was a walkway, allegations of clearing some pine trees and then bringing in loam, and that they were seeking after the fact approval for was,
Talking about Woodland Camp Road,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's done.
That's-
so no application needed, or,
No application needed.
okay. All right, I didn't know that, so I was,
Because the engineering plan, was to solve a runoff problem. And there was one tree removed there's a hollow stump there. So it was a reasonable tree. The big gripe after the fact was, well, they brought in too much loam. They had to escape the property for the runoff issue not to occur again. They planted grass because it's fast growing, they want to see duff brought back. Well, you bring back duff, duff occurs over decades naturally. If you bring in duff and put it on the ground, the first heavy rain you got, it's gonna float, go straight into the lake. So the grass, I've had DEP out there twice, and they concur that grass is the better filter. Plus, there is, on the waterfront itself, they are allowing stuff to grow up. It's not like they cut it and they're keeping it cut. They're bringing it back.
I was just curious.
There was absent of permitting for internal plumbing, septic connections, that sort of thing. Had a state inspector come out and go through that. He found, or they went after the state went after the provider, the plumber, that did the work without permit. And, the guy's been very compliant ever since. Very sheepish.
Good to know.
So there are still civil issues out there. This may come back to our plate one day, but they're arguing over a right of way, whether it exists or not,
Oh,
whether it's necessary or not. And so until that's resolved, you know, that's not our lives.
Woodland Hills. Woodland
Camp
Hills.
Road. There's another issue with a bunkhouse that got moved, that it was behind 100 feet and it got moved to a lesser non-conforming place. It's basically at 250 feet right now, or 235. So they moved it as far back as they reasonably could. But they moved it without a permit, and that's what the neighbors
Oh, that's the
complained.
guy that put the, steps down in the water,
Yeah.
and then they were arguing over putting the,
And the steps were to conceal a water pipe drain. They moved a rock to put in the pipe, the drain pipe. And those granite steps were there. They're not actually functional steps because they just lead on to more rocks. That they're above the water line. And, you know, the aesthetic only, and it keeps the water from discharging directly into, you know, it acts as a block. So,
so it's getting worked out.
as far as I'm concerned.
Good.
I didn't see anything. I mean, I saw Gary's notes, the engineering notes and everything I went through. It's just a lot of disgruntled neighbors.
Yeah.
They're still fighting over a fence. Privacy fence, they're calling it a spike fence,
But
but with the amount of spike coming from the neighborhood, I say, yeah, it's a spike fence. Keep the spike outside
Right.
the property.
goes both ways.
Yeah, so, and again, that's a civil matter.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah,
our matter.
It's not our business.
Good.
So,
So, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You second, so we're ready for vote, Peter,
yeah,
Nick,
Yes.
Sarah say yes, George,
Yes.
Craig. And off we go.